All right, today is day 8 of the Love Throwing program, and your task today, whether you're a softball player or a baseball player, is to throw a knuckleball. So first, if you don't know what a knuckleball is supposed to do, it's supposed to be a pitch that when you throw it, it flies with no spin. So it's not spinning, no backspin, no side spin, no top spin. It's just floating through the air. And because it has no spin, it will have extremely strange aerodynamic effects and essentially just like jump around in the air. I've caught some teammates that have thrown a knuckleball. They can be literally terrifying because you're tracking it and then it'll just like go 6 inches to the left or 6 inches down or 8 inches to the right. It's completely unpredictable, even to the person that throws it, which is one of the reasons it's so hard to be an effective pitcher that way. Even if you can throw a good knuckleball that actually moves a lot and knuckles really well, it's really tough to then not walk a ton of hitters because once you release it, you don't actually know where it's going to end up. You can't predict the break. When you throw a curveball or a slider or a drop curve in softball or a screwball, you know that when you start it here and it breaks this much, it's going to kind of end. You can predict the movement because you're used to throwing it that way. If you start it here and it breaks here, it'll go there, right? With a knuckleball, you literally don't know what it's going to do on any given time you throw it, which obviously makes it really problematic. So every baseball player grows up at some point kind of tinkering with a knuckleball. Some players develop pretty good ones, like my friend, who I'm going to pass along some tips today because I don't throw a good knuckleball. But I have a friend who threw one that was so good in college. We were teammates. And then in pro ball that he got asked to convert into a knuckleballer late in his professional pitching career. It was a very hard journey for him doing that. He did not make it to the major leagues, but he was an exceptional. He made it to the major leagues as a conventional pitcher, did not make it back as a knuckleballer. It's an exceptionally hard thing to do. And basically his first tip is that, look, no one knows how to do the knuckleball, essentially. He's like, everyone's got tips, the guys have thrown it, but it's really, really hard to do, and it takes a lot of tinkering. So it's not like I can show you this straightforward way of doing it, but I will show you the grip. So let's start with the grip. The basic 2-finger knuckleball grip is you're going to have 2 fingers on top like this. Your thumb is going to be on the side like that. And then your ring and pinky fingers are going to kind of hang out to the side like that. So thumb on the side, ring on the side, pinky just kind of hanging out. And then your 2 fingers are kind of dug in like that, kind of like bunny ears. So from here, he said the number one goal is, because you'll typically, when you throw it, you'll impart backspin on a fastball. And if you're in the outfield or catcher or infield and you're throwing a ball, it's going to have backspin. You want to try to counteract the backspin. So if there's one thing you try to do, he told me, it's try to get the ball to go forward, because that's going to sort of counteract the natural backspin that you would add. So when you throw this, and you can kind of dig your fingernails in, or you can just push with your pads of your fingers into the ball. It's kind of a misnomer, he said, that people have to have long fingernails to throw a knuckleball. He said you don't. He said he didn't have long fingernails. He used more of his pads of his fingers than his fingernails. But that is a thing. Some pitchers that throw a knuckleball do dig their nails in really hard. But basically, you're kind of going to release it and kind of push it, like kind of float it out. So your hand will kind of expand when you're releasing the pitch like that. This is something that you should just play catch with, obviously, throw it, tinker it, and it's real easy to give feedback between you and your partner. Say, hey, how many times did that spin? And you'll be able to see it because it won't spin very fast. Even if you throw really bad ones, you'll see that they're going way slower in spin than normal. So you can see like, hey, that one was pretty good. That one didn't spin much at all. And you can kind of tinker, like, how does that feel? What did I do? How did I make it move less or move more? So this is just literally one of the biggest science experiments that you can make when throwing a baseball. And this is why so many baseball players just tinker with this at various times in their career, because they're just like screwing around, playing catch and having a good time, which is the exact point of this whole love throwing program. Okay. So to recap, 2 fingers on top. You can add a third if you want. Some players like Jim Bouton, he's a major league pitcher back in the day, wrote the book Ball 4. He threw a 3-finger knuckleball, but most players throw a 2-finger. And then again, thumb on the side, ring and pinky on the side. And you're going to kind of push the ball out to try to get, if anything, get the ball kind of going forward. Because again, the goal is to not get that backspin that you would usually get from throwing. A last tip that I'll give you that he passed on to me is that you don't want to be too rotational. You want to kind of think about going forward with your body a little more than normal. He said one player described it as sort of being more of like a Ferris wheel rather than like carousel. And he said another player described it who threw a knuckleball that it's kind of like throwing in a phone booth, that you don't have as much space. So you're kind of just like going forward straight out of it. So take that for what you will. But the knuckleball, if any pitch is like the ultimate tinkering pitch, it's the knuckleball. So try the grip, try to get it to spin as little as you can and see if you can get it to move. All right. So that's day 8, throwing a knuckleball.